Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2021 Hennessey Venom F5. Now this gets its F5 name from the tornado speed on the Fujita scale, as those kind of tornadoes can do upwards of 300 miles an hour, which kind of tells you all you need to know about the speed of this car. And yeah, it's been in production since 2020, and only 24 of these are going to be built, and all 24 of them have now been sold, although obviously they haven't all delivered them all. And yeah, the chassis and body is almost entirely made out of carbon fibre, has active aero to change the car's handling characteristics at certain rates of speed. It's rear-wheel drive, mid-engined, and has a 7-speed gearbox. So yeah, this is a pretty formidable car. The GT was a pretty decent car, but this is definitely better in a lot of ways. I think it looks better. Looks like more of its own thing rather than a Lotus vehicle that has been heavily modified. It's also got way more power, and yeah, it's also a better handling vehicle as well in a lot of ways. So it's got really nice doors, and yeah, the interior is pretty decent as well. Although for something that can cost upwards of 2.1 million, I would have expected something a little bit better, quite frankly. And I'm not a fan of the steering wheel either. Never have been. You're not David Hasselhoff in Knight Rider. You're never going to be that cool. So yeah, I don't see the point in having the steering wheel like that. It just makes it a damn sight more inconvenient to drive, especially if you're trying to do any tricky parking. So yeah, but outside of that, interior looks fairly decent. But again, for something that costs so much, you'd expect a little bit more. And yeah, it's got a has it got a frunk? I don't think it actually has a frunk. But yeah, what it does have is a formidable rear engine in the mid-engine bay. So yeah, we're talking a 6.6 litre twin turbocharged V8 engine, producing 1,817 horsepower and a massive 1,193 pounds-feet of torque. Now that's about 600 horsepower more than the GT version from several years ago, and not much extra in the way of torque, but you know, extra torque is nonetheless better, and all of that is being put into a car that only weighs 3,053 pounds, which yeah, is not very heavy at all for a car that can go as fast as this, as in terms of acceleration and speed, and has that much power. But like I said, it's got active aero, so the aerodynamics change as you go at certain rates of speed, or you've got certain handling characteristics going on, or you're in a certain corner or anything like that, so you can get more downforce when necessary and less downforce when you want more speed at the top end. So yeah, and in that regard, it is a really good car. It's far better handling than I would expect it to be, especially given how much power it's got for going through those rear wheels, where as most vehicles of this type generally have all-wheel drive. So the fact this only has rear-wheel drive is not only really rather quite brave, but they've actually pulled it off in most cases. So yeah, nonetheless, let's get out there and see what this car can do. So with that amount of horsepower, it's a given that this is going to be a quick car in a straight line, but how quick can we get it before we hit the speed camera, which is obviously a limited run, not very long. But yeah, let's get out there and see what it can do. So yeah, not the fastest car in terms of launch, because obviously it's on rear-wheel drive and it's got a lot of power and torque going through those rear wheels, but once it gets going through the gears and starts to work up a head of steam, as you can see, it's really quick. 218 miles an hour in that shorter space of time, which is yeah, far faster than any other vehicle I think that we've reviewed so far on this game, which yeah, it's saying a lot given that we've reviewed some very quick cars. So yeah, but a quick car is pretty useless and one note if that's all it can do is go in a straight line quick. What really matters is whether or not a quick car like this can handle the power, the acceleration and the speed. So let's get it onto this track and see if that is the case. Let's quickly look at the stats first. So yeah, high-end S2 class, as you'd expect with something with so much power, and yeah, 10 speed, 9.5 handling and 8.7 braking are all excellent. The launch is decent, but it's a struggle to get that amount of power off the line in a rear-wheel drive car. Acceleration though is quite down, because like I said, you have to get it through those gears and work a head up of steam for the engine to really stretch its legs. So yeah, it takes up until about 120 until it properly becomes quick, but once it does, that acceleration definitely becomes more and more until you're at least hitting 270, 280 at the top end. So yeah, but we're not going to be doing those kind of speeds on this track, granted, but you'd be surprised how quick this car can go in such a short space of time, especially like when I said it does work up ahead of steam. But regardless, let's listen to what the engine sounds like first, and then we'll talk about it some more. Yeah, it's not the best sounding V8 going, quite frankly. I think that obviously to get the amount of power that they've got out of this, they've had to really crank up the turbos and crank up other elements to really get as much, you know, air and fuel into this as much as possible to keep it up to more than 1800 horsepower. So yeah, it's not the best sounding engine, but that doesn't really matter because you concentrate so hard on this car given how fast it is and how it's defying the laws of physics in a lot of ways, that the engine noise really doesn't matter, which is probably why the interior looks as bland as it does. You don't want any distractions in a car like this. So yeah, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, 0 to 103.988 seconds, and it will go into a really rather unbelievable 304 miles an hour, which yeah, is ludicrously quick. Now granted, if we did take this car onto the How Fast Will It Go series, it wouldn't be the fastest on that series, because unfortunately you can't upgrade the engine anymore on this, whereas you could, you know, fiddle around with the Koenigsegg Jesko for instance. So yeah, and even though that Koenigsegg had less horsepower than this, that is quicker at the top end purely because it's got, yeah, a huge amount of power, but it's also really well quite slippery, whereas this aerodynamically isn't that great. It's 0.33 coefficient, which is good, definitely good for a car of this type, but you can do better than that. So yeah, that's probably why it's not quite as quick at the top end as a Jesko would be in upgraded form. But as far as standard cars go, yeah, this is definitely the fastest car in the world at the moment, and definitely faster than the Jesko go in its stock form as well. So yeah, bit of a shame that we can't upgrade it further. I would have loved to get it to at least 2000 horsepower and see what it really could have done, but yeah, we will still take it out onto that series at some point when we can at least upgrade it in terms of tyres and all-wheel drive system and lighten it a little bit, just to see how quick it can go and how well it can do it. But yeah, still, this is a fantastic car. Really, really glad it's been put onto the game via the Hot Wheels expansion. Granted, I would have more people to have got it, liked it to have been in the main game on its own, or part of the car pass, or in the festival playlist, but still, I'm really, really glad we've got it in the game. It's about time we had a stupidly quick hypercar on this game, as yeah, we don't really have anything like this, quite frankly, on this game. Obviously you can upgrade cars to be as quick as this, but as far as stock vehicles go, yeah, this is in a league of its own. So yeah, highly recommend getting it if you can. You do have to play through a fair bit of the Hot Wheels expansion to get it. You have to get into the X-Class band of racing, and then you have to do a certain mission to get it. So yeah, but it's well worth the effort, especially given how fun it is to drive and how quick it is in a straight line. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.